This is Filmmasters. On this episode, we are putting together a Doctor Strange's movie poster using the element that we made in the prior tutorial in Photoshop. Let's get straight into it.
Okay, so we're going to be putting together a Doctor Strange's movie poster, and we'll be using Photoshop to do that. Now make sure that you download the download pack. In the download pack, it contains the Imperator, which is the font that we'll be using. So download that, open it up and install it. I do have an installation video on how to install font. It also comes with a Doctor Strange image, a picture of myself. Obviously, you can use your own photos. I've also got a background that we'll be using, and we've also got 2 spark elements. Now I have a link in the description area below this video showing you how to make the disc effect. Now, if you don't have time to make it, or you just want to use this image, that's fine. Just use what's in the download pack. So let's get into it. So first of all, we're going to grab all the elements that we're going to use. So let's start off with the red space, our Doctor Strange. We're going to select our Making of Magic Doctor Strange shield effect and our 2 spark layers. And finally, an image of myself, or obviously if you just want to do an image of yourself in your own Doctor Strange poster, you can do that as well. Just make sure you take a photo. And I'm going to open them all up in Photoshop. So we've got the 2 spark layers, we've got our background layer, we've got our disc effect that we've created, a picture of myself, and our picture of Doctor Strange. So first of all, we're going to start off with the red space. That's going to be our background layer. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select it and make sure that we rotate it to the right direction. So let's go up to Image, and we're going to go to Image Rotation, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, like so. I'm just going to zoom out of the image so we can have a look at what we've got. Now the next element we want to bring into it is our picture of Doctor Strange. So let's select our Doctor Strange image. Now I'm going to use the marquee tool to select the image that we will be using. So I've selected the image. I'm going to press Control C to copy it and come back to our background layer and Control V to paste it in there. And I'm going to flip our image across. So let's make sure that that image is selected. So I'm going to call him Doctor Strange, just so we know what layers are what. And I'm going to go up to Edit and Transform, and I'm going to flip horizontally. And that allows us to make sure that Doctor Strange is facing to the left instead of the right. And now I'm going to adjust his size. So let's go up to Edit, Transform, and Scale. Holding the Shift button down on my keyboard will allow me to grab this size and resize the image. I'm going to put him into position now. And once I'm happy, I'm going to press Enter. So I'm just moving him into position. I'm happy with that. I'm going to make some cuts now of the image. So I'm going to zoom in. So Z on the keyboard, zoom right in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to select the Polygon Lasso tool. This one here, right in the center. And I'm going to make one move. And I'm just going to, every time I press the left button on my mouse, it's going to allow me to make a selection. So what I'm doing is I'm going around the image like a cookie cutter and cutting out Doctor Strange from the image. Now the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to have some flexibility in the image. And that means that I can put elements behind him if I want to. And I'll show you that when we start playing around with it. So I'm just going to come around here. I'm just going to make a rough cut just to remove as much of the black as possible. I'm just going to go around his whiskers. Pressing the spacebar allows me to move around when I'm so close to the image, and therefore I don't have to zoom in and zoom back out again. And I'm doing what they call a garbage mat. A garbage mat now is just going around roughly around the image. Getting as close as possible, but not too close to the image or where his hair is, the detail in the hair. Now, if you don't want to put any elements behind him, you don't have to remove the background if you don't want to, but I want you to do this step. So I'm going around the image now so that everything that is in the center of the mat that I'm selecting is going to be deleted. Okay, so let's press delete, and that's going to delete all that black area. I'm going to right click now and hit deselect to remove the mask and zoom back out. And this is what we've got at the moment. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to double select. So double click here on the background, and that will allow us to unlock the background layer. I'm just going to call this background and select OK. And as you can see, I can now move the elements around on the layers window on the right hand side. So keeping the background obviously to the back at the moment. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to select a brand new layer. I'm going to bring it right down to the very back. I'm going to make sure that our black is selected. I'm going to get the paint bucket tool and make that layer black. So if I turn these layers off, that whole layer is now pure black. And let's turn them back on again. And I'm going to put the background layer now above our Doctor Strange element. And with that selected, I'm going to come down and change the screen to value to screen. Like so. Now there's a few things that we want to change here. I can see there's a line here in our image. I'm assuming that's from our background layer. So let's press Control T and drag that image out to widen it just a little bit. There we go. Now we've got rid of that. And we're going to come through here now and we're going to make some alterations to our image. So let's come over here and we're going to select the eraser tool. I'm going to make sure I hold the button down and select the top one. I'm going to right click and make sure that we have the feathered brush. Now I can adjust the size of the brush here on the slider, but I like to use the open and close brackets on my keyboard like this so I can move around. So with our background layer above our Doctor Strange, I'm going to make sure that our brush tip is quite large. And now I'm going to go around and just hold on to the button on my mouse, not releasing it. And I'm going to remove some of that so our Doctor Strange character sits forward. There we go. Forward of our image itself. So another way, obviously, we could have left it in the background and done the same thing with our Doctor Strange, go around and really clean up the hair and so forth. But for this tutorial, we won't do that. I want to sit it above. So that way we've got a little bit of the element coming around his edge and it looks like it's feathering in onto his image. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to remove some of this. So again, we're going to make sure that our razor tool is selected. Right click, select the tip. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to remove some of it. I'm going to make the brush tip quite large so we can get a nice feather like so. And this will allow our text to sit in this area nicely. I'll just go back one. There we go. And let's press Control V to do that on the keyboard. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to our magic effect that we've created in the previous tutorial. I'm going to select that. So I've used the marquee, I've selected it, Control C to copy it, or we can go up to Edit, Copy. Let's go back to our poster and Edit, Paste, or Control V. We've got the shortcut keys up here. And we're going to start playing around with this effect now. I'm going to make it so we can composite it into our poster. So first of all, I want to duplicate this 3 times. So holding the Control button down, press J once and twice. So now we've got 3 copies. Now with the very top copy, I'm going to come up to Filter. I'm going to go to Blur and Gaussian Blur. Now I'm going to select 20. So let's change that to 20 pixels and select OK. Come up to the screen mode and change that to screen. And as you can see, there's a slight blur around our effect. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to come down to the middle effect now. Go back up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to change this one to 10 pixels. and select OK. Changing the screen mode now to screen. And now we've got all our three effects together. So I'm going to select the top layer, holding the shift button down, select the second layer and the third layer. Now, once I've selected all these layers by holding my shift button down, I'm now going to either press Control E, which will bring those layers together, or we will come up to Layer and Merge Layers. And that will bring all those three layers into one layer. So now I'm going to go up to our screen mode and select Screen. And as you can see, we've got the transparency and we've got a nice blur radius happening on our effect. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to Image, Adjustments, and Color Balance. Now with that layer selected, we're going to make sure our midtones are selected, which is normally what happens from the very beginning when you open it up as a default. On the slider, I'm going to adjust it up to the full, so 100% on red. On our yellow, I'm going to bring it to 100% or negative 100. Coming to highlights, I'm going to bump up the red to about 75. And I'm going to reduce to yellow to 75 as well. So I can go in there and actually enter it and select OK once I'm happy with it. And now we've got our element sitting here on our poster. We've got a nice blur and it's the color that we're after. Now, obviously you can make it green. We're going to make it red though, because we want it to match in with our poster. Now, if I bring it down and place it underneath our background layer, or even underneath our Doctor Strange layer, you can see from us cutting out the effect beforehand, we can have it so it sits in to the element itself, depending on where you want to put it. Now for this effect though, I'm going to bring it straight up to the top and I'm just going to place it off to the side like so. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up and add some sparks now. So let's go up to Sparks 1. Using the marquee tool to select the image, press Control C to copy it. Let's go back to our image, Control V will paste it. Now I'm going to press Control T, which will allow us now to rotate the actual image itself. Now if you want to manually rotate it, it's just a matter of going up to Edit, Transform, and Rotate, and it'll allow us to rotate it that way. So we're just going to put it into place now. Press Enter when you're happy with it. Change the screen mode to screen. And we're just going to move it into place to where we're happy with it. And now with that sparks layer selected, I'm going to press Control J to duplicate it. Move it up, Control T to rotate. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put a few spark elements onto the effect. And we're going to go up to Sparks 2. And we're going to select this image now. Control C will copy. Control V to paste it. Control T will allow us to rotate the image. Just going to expand it. Press Enter when I'm happy with it. Change the screen mode to screen. And move it into place. I'm going to duplicate it again. And just move it and duplicate it once more. Just so we've got some sparks coming across. Now I'm just going to come over to the eraser tool now, making sure that our feathered tip is selected. So I right clicked on my mouse to do that, to bring up that values. I'm just going to delete some of the sparks that have come across. And once we're happy with that, which we are, so we're going to write Doctor Strange's text now. So to do that, I'm going to press T on the keyboard or use the T tool over here. I'm going to make sure that after you've installed from the download pack, the Imperator font, I'm going to make sure that is selected. So I've got that selected. I'm now going to come down and make a marquee box with the text tool and write Doctor in capitals, D-O-C-T-O-R. Press Enter to make a new line. In capitals again, Strange. Now, as you can see, I've got gray selected. So make sure that you have gray selected for the color palette and press OK. I'm going to come down to the sides now and just resize the box and then select the Move tool. I'm going to move it into location. Now the reason I resize the text box is when I press Control T to resize the text now, and holding the Shift button down to keep it in perspective, it allows me to drag the text up like so. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to make some adjustments to our text now. So I'm going to press T and select the text. I'm going to highlight the top text. Now at the moment we've got the scale size as 300. So let's drop it down to 200 and select the move tool to lock it in. And so we've now got Doctor Strange. So the Doctor is smaller than the Strange text, just like in the movie posters. And now we're going to make some adjustments to give it some dimension. So I'm going to select our text now, right click with the mouse, select blending options, and it's going to bring up our layer style palette. So the first thing we're going to do is going to come down to bevel and emboss and make sure that is selected. So we've got a tick in the box. And as you can see, the text has already changed. So we're starting to give it a little bit of depth. I'm now going to go up to the structure style and make it outer bevel. I'm going to make the depth 600. So type in 600. I'm now going to go to the gloss contour and use the drop down box to have a look at the different gloss values. Now selected, as you select through, you can see different looks of the text as it changes. It's about looking around and seeing which one you're happy with. Now I like this one, so I'm going to select it. And then once I've done that and we've made those changes, I'm going to select OK. I'm going to zoom in now so we can see what we've done. So what we've done with the text, not only have we beveled it, we've also given it a little bit of depth. And we've also given it a nice shine around, or reflection around our text. So I'm going to zoom out now. So that's how we do our Doctor Strange's movie poster, using our element that we've created and also playing around with some of the Doctor Strange's text. So now that I've done that, I want to come down to our Doctor Strange's layer and I want to make some alterations. So let's go up to Image and Adjustments and Color Balance. Using the same type of slider as before, we're going to change the look and color of our Doctor Strange character. So let's adjust the red. I'm going to bump it up to around plus 24 and then slide towards yellow. Make that 20. Come to the highlights. Make the top layer and adjust it to cyan plus 3. And on the blue, I'm going to go to plus 22 and select OK. As you can see, we've got a nice orangey color to our Doctor Strange and he's fitting into our poster. So that is our Doctor Strange movie poster that we've created in Photoshop using the elements that we originally created and applying it to our elements that I've got in the download pack for you. Now let's have a look at the image that I've got of myself. So we're going to play around with my photo now. Now I suggest go out there and get your own photo of yourself. If not, use this one though. And we're going to use that same element. So we're going to go back to the Making of Magic element, which is our Doctor Strange's shield effect. Make sure that we're using the marquee to Control C to copy it. Going back to the image, Control V to paste. Control T to adjust the size of the element. And we're going to put it into place. Press Enter. I'm just going to come up to the screen mode and select screen so I can see where I want to put it. Using the move tool, I'm going to put it into place. Now when I'm happy with it, again, it's about duplicating the layers. So let's Control J to duplicate once and twice. So we've got 3 layers. With the top layer, I'm going to come up and I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm going to change the value to 20 on the radius, 20 pixels, select OK. And then on the next layer, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, but I'm going to halve the value and go to 10 pixels and select OK. Once I've done that, selecting all 3 layers by using the Shift button, I'm then going to press Control E to bring them together and then change the screen mode back to screen again. So now we've done that, we're going to go up now and we're going to go to Image, adjustments, and color balance. Now I'm going to slide the red up to 100, yellow to -100, go to highlights, and I'm going to bump the red up to around about 60. And with our yellow, I'm going to bring it down to around about 30, so -30. Once I've done that, I'm going to select OK. And then I'm going to go up to our sparks and bring our sparks in. So sparks 1, and I'm going to make sure it's selected with the marquee tool. Control C to copy it. And Control V will paste it in. Control T to allow us to rotate the image. And I'm just going to move it into place. Press Enter to lock it in. Change the screen mode to screen, like so. And press Control J to duplicate that layer that's selected. Making sure our Move tool is selected so we can select that layer and move it. Control T again to rotate. And I'm just going to go up to Sparks 2 now. And now that's selected, we're going to go straight to the image again. Paste that in. I'm going to change the screen mode to screen. Just going to scale that up. So we've got some sparks in the center. Now, if that's too much sparks, obviously you can turn them off in the layers to check out or move them around to where you're happy with it. Or again, you can come down here and select our effect layer. Go up to Filter, Blur. Go to Motion Blur. Bring the motion blur down to around about 10. Select OK. And that way it will give us that little bit of a motion blur on the effect, selling the shot. And that's it. That's how we put together our Doctor Strange's effects in Photoshop. Not only did we make a Doctor Strange's poster, we've also applied the effect onto an image of ourselves.
Now, if you want to become a Filmmaster subby, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like us on Facebook and or on Twitter. And until next time, don't just film it, master it.